her. You can't see her, but there's a good chance you might jump on my lap. Her name is Elfie. She is a little cat. Well, actually, she's not too little. And she is about to jump on my lap. There you are. You can see a tail, which is always interesting. You may or may not see the head. She's 9 years old. Well, she will be soon. We got her when she was about this big, and she was extremely stubborn. Used to chew the feeding things that the droppers we used to feed her with, keep replacing them. And when she was small, her ears were way out of proportion to her body. So I said, oh, she looks like an elf. So we called her Elfie, and the name stuck. Today, if you live in this part of the world, you know it's warm. It's kind of warm today. It's 94-ish Fahrenheit, 35-ish Celsius, somewhere in that region. So it's hot, and it's a little bit humid. However, today's reading, I'll tell you my experience with this subject afterwards. I'm going to read it first. Here it is. It's called Believing Mirrors. Believing mirrors, as in things that you look at and reflect back to you. First quote is from a lady called Shakti Gawan. She was very well known in the New Age movement, I think maybe in the New Thought movement in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on. She passed away in 2018. And she was a very interesting character. Her original name was Carol Louisa Gawan. And then when she started something called the New World Library, her partner christened her Shakti Gawan, which means, I think, something like the divine feminine force. So something like that. She says, rightly so, an affirmation is a strong positive statement that something is already so. An affirmation is a strong positive statement that something is already so. So in other words, you say an affirmation as if it's already happened. So, for instance, if you declare, I easily write poetry, or I love writing poetry, and you keep repeating that, then you're affirming it's true. So it's something that you believe has already happened. And remember, belief is thought plus feeling. Ernest Holmes puts it a little bit differently. He says, life is like a mirror, and it will reflect back to the thinker what they think into it. So it's kind of a slightly different way of looking at things. In other words, what you think into the universal mind, the mind of God, if you like, is what will eventually get reflected back to you. And Diana, our writer this month, says, in her classic book on creativity, The Artist's Way, it's quite a well-known book, actually, Julia Cameron discusses the need to find people who serve as believing mirrors for us. So who are these people? These are people to whom you can go for encouragement. They're optimistic and hopeful, reflecting back to us our distinct gifts and emboldening us to envision for ourselves what we may not yet have discovered within. Diana goes on to say, personal affirmations are another way to train ourselves to think positively about life and about our own abilities. He says, for years, my affirmation was, I am a gifted writer. He says, I definitely did not believe it early on. Yet by writing my affirmation and repeating it often, it gradually began to take hold in my thinking and in my life. I also sought friendships with people who supported my creative dreams. And that is a really important aspect. We'll come back to it. Are there people with whom you can connect who might act as believing mirrors for your dreams? Going back to the first part. Consider making a list of individuals or communities that nurture your aspirations. Years ago, my daughters and I created a family motto, quote, In this family, we support each other's dreams, unquote. He says, although they're grown now and living their own visions out in the world, the motto still holds true. We support each other's dreams. Now she says, what affirmations would assist you with your life goals? Now she's not expecting an immediate answer. Maybe you got an immediate answer, but she's really saying, look, why don't you start thinking about what affirmations would support you in moving forward in life, whatever age you are. Remember, C.S. Lewis yesterday, I think it was yesterday, said, yep, you're never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. She says, when you found them, write out a couple and put them where you can see them. Repeat them as often as needed. Trust that the universe, God, the divine, the all, is supporting you in your efforts. And as Ernest Holmes declared, believe as though you are and you will be. Believe as though you are and you will be. In other words, believe it's happened now and it will be in the future. You know, Bob Proctor, who was really my main mentor, with whom I studied, and I actually became licensed as a facilitator for him. I became an advanced facilitator. He gave a couple of pieces of really good advice. He said, remember that although we may be predominantly visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, we have all of these traits. You know, we each have these modalities. It's just that one modality is usually stronger than the others. There's usually the strongest, the second strongest, and then the third one. But we each have the three modalities: sight, sound, feeling, touch, etc. So what he suggested was, as she suggests, write down your affirmation. And he went one step further. He said, think about your affirmation, write it down, and then speak it out loud to yourself, because then you engage all three modalities, right? You engage sight because you can see it. You engage touch because you've physically written it down or typed it on a computer. You're still touching, right? And sound because you're repeating it out loud to yourself. One thing I used to do a lot, and it really worked for me, and I've got to get back into doing it again because it really worked very well. I would record affirmations on a recorder. Nowadays, I do it on my phone. Then I actually had a recorder, and I would play it back to myself. I would get relaxed, do deep breathing, and I would listen to the affirmation or affirmations over and over again. It was my own voice telling me that this is a done deal, that it's a fact. But he also added one thing as well, which was repeated by some other people that I know, which was this or something better, this or something better. And the reason you do that is because the divine, God, the all, has got a broader picture, in fact, the picture of everything and can see all possibilities. So when you make a definite affirmation that you want exactly that, then you limit the ability of the divine subjective to provide that. And if it does provide it exactly, it may not be what is best for you. But when you say this or something better, then you leave it open to receive your highest good, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I got onto the self-help kit, which is really kind of where all this came from originally. Reading books like Think and Grow Rich and The Power of Positive Thinking, I think it was by Norman Vincent Peale, and lots of others. And then Bob Proctor's books like The Science of Getting Rich and so on. I actually taught that seminar a bunch of times. So bottom line is we need to take some quiet. Let's take some quiet. Not we need. Let's each of us take some quiet time. Think about what it is that we would like to do in life. How would we like to grow next? How would we like to improve what we got now? How would we like to bring something new into our lives? And when we've written those down, let's repeat them out loud and maybe record them and play them back to ourselves. Because, look, when we make the world better for ourselves and we're open to allowing others to enjoy it, then we make the world a better place. And I don't know about you, but that is what I'm all about, to help make the world a better place. So hope you've enjoyed this, whatever it is, reading, podcast, broadcast, I don't know, but hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy Reverend Lisa tomorrow morning at 9:15. Something completely different. Not better, not worse, just different. And when you piece it all together, then it all helps. I am going to leave you with this. I'm knowing for each and every person who listens to this and thinks about what has been taught today, that they take it. I'm knowing that each person brings this into their life, makes their life better, and makes the world better. And I claim it, release it, let it go, enjoy, gratitude. And so it is.